Have you ever noticed the women who don't chase anyone somehow attract everything? They walk into a room, not seeking attention, yet every head turns. They don't beg for love, approval, or validation, and still, life seems to give them both. What makes them so magnetic? Carl Jung would say, they've mastered the art of inner wholeness, because the moment a woman stops chasing, she steps into her true power. Most people confuse attraction with effort. They believe love, success, and peace come only when you run harder, when you try more. But Jung's psychology teaches something very different. What you chase runs away, because in chasing, you reveal that you don't have it. And the unconscious mind, the deepest layer of who we are, always responds to that energy. When a woman chases, she's not chasing a person. She's chasing a feeling, the feeling of being enough, of being seen, desired, validated. But the paradox is, the more she chases it, the more it escapes her. Because in that chase, she unconsciously tells herself, I am not enough until someone chooses me. Carl Jung called this the shadow of desire. The part of us that believes happiness lives outside of us, in someone else's eyes. But here's the transformation. When a woman finally stops chasing, she begins to integrate her shadow. She stops running from loneliness. She faces it, breathes through it, and lets it transform into strength. This is where her magnetism begins. The woman who doesn't chase is not cold. She's calm. She doesn't ignore because she's proud. She simply no longer seeks energy from chaos. She knows what she offers. She knows that connection should flow, not be forced, and she knows that peace is more valuable than attention. Men feel this energy instantly, even if they can't explain it, because deep down every man senses it. The woman who doesn't chase is anchored in herself. She's not looking for a savior. She is her own home, and that energy, that wholeness, pulls everything towards her. Carl Jung wrote that what we do not make conscious will control us. And in the woman who chases, it's the unconscious fear of abandonment that drives her. She texts first, overthinks silence, and mistakes temporary distance for rejection. But the woman who has faced her fear, she no longer reacts. She responds. She trusts that what is meant for her will never need to be begged for. This is the invisible power that society rarely teaches women, because the world tells them, be pretty, be nice, be wanted. But Jung's psychology whispers, be whole, be conscious, be you. When she stops chasing, her energy shifts from needing to knowing. She no longer seeks to prove her worth, she lives it. Her silence becomes her strength. Her boundaries become her beauty. And her presence begins to speak louder than her words ever could. Men sense it, not as arrogance, but as mystery. They can't quite define it. They only know that when they're around her, they feel something different. Grounded, curious, challenged. Because she doesn't feed their ego. She reflects their soul. That's Jungian power. It's not about manipulation or playing hard to get. It's about being so connected to yourself that you stop trying to be chosen. You realize you already are. When a woman stops chasing, she starts receiving, not just attention, but energy, peace, ideas, intuition. Her nervous system, once addicted to chaos and waiting for replies, begins to rest. She's no longer refreshing messages to feel loved. She starts listening to her own inner voice, the one she used to silence for others. And that's where real beauty begins. Because Jung said the soul has both a masculine and feminine side, animus and anima. When she chases her animus, the masculine within becomes restless, impatient, trying to control outcomes. But when she surrenders and lets life flow, her anima, her feminine essence, awakens. She becomes intuitive, magnetic, and deeply connected to her spiritual energy. This doesn't mean she stops caring. It means she stops forcing. She learns to allow things to unfold, not out of laziness but from trust. Because when she's connected to her inner world, she knows that everything outside her is just a mirror. If she feels ignored, it's not rejection, it's a reflection. If she feels anxious, it's not about him. It's about her unhealed fear. And when she brings awareness to that, everything changes. Jung once said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. That's exactly what the non-chasing woman has done. She has made her unconscious patterns conscious. She's no longer repeating her old story. She's rewriting it. She no longer says, why doesn't he like me? She asks, why do I crave people who can't meet me? She no longer says, why do they leave? She asks, what part of me still believes love means chasing? That's deep feminine power. Not loud, not reactive, but aware. Because awareness ends the pattern. And here's the paradox. The moment she stops chasing love, love starts chasing her. Because energy doesn't lie. When you radiate peace, you attract peace. When you trust your worth, you magnetize people who can see it. And when you finally stop begging for love, you receive the kind of love that doesn't need to be begged for. But here's something people rarely understand. The power of not chasing doesn't mean she's emotionless.
She feels deeply.
She just doesn't collapse when things don't go her way. She's learned that rejection is redirection, that what leaves her life was never meant to stay, and that love isn't something you earn, it's something you align with. Her stillness isn't weakness, it's strength. Her silence isn't pride, it's protection. Her distance isn't a game, it's growth. She doesn't prove her value anymore, she embodies it. Jung believed every person carries both a mask, persona, and a true self. The woman who chases is often trapped in her persona, the mask of being pleasing, wanted, perfect. But when she stops chasing, the mask falls. She lets her true self breathe, raw, real, and radiant. That's why her presence feels magnetic, because it's authentic. This energy doesn't just change her relationships, it changes her destiny. She starts attracting people who match her vibration, not her wounds. She's no longer drawn to what hurts her. Her soul starts craving peace more than passion, alignment more than attention. And that's when the real miracle happens. Her life becomes full, not because she got more, but because she needed less. The less she chases, the more she receives, because she's no longer saying to the universe, I'm incomplete. She's saying, I'm whole, and anything that joins me must match my wholeness. Carl Jung would say that this is the path of individuation, the journey toward becoming your true integrated self. For women who walk this path, silence becomes sacred. They no longer seek answers in noise. They sit with themselves, and in that stillness, their true identity blooms. They stop being addicted to potential, to maybe, to half-love. They stop waiting for someone to choose them, because they already did, themselves. And that choice is what makes them powerful beyond measure.